Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here. Got another Master Duel video for you. Coming at you with some games from the Synchro Cup. I decided to play Centur-ion, as I believe that is definitely one of the better decks that you can choose to play here. I'm going to show my list off at the end of the video, but in the grand scheme of things, it's really not that different from a standard Centur-ion list. Really, the literally only difference, actually, is in the extra deck, is that we're not playing stuff like SP Little Knight, Typhoon, Heretic Seals, you know, these kind of random kind of one-off Link and Xyz monsters that occasionally come up, but really, Centur-ion is all about synchro summoning anyway, so it's not that big of an ask to take those out of the extra deck. Main deck is pretty much still the same as I would play it on regular ranked, except for some, you know, minor hand trap choices, but yeah, I believe between Centur-ion and Tenpai, those are going to be your two best bets for the Synchro Cup. List is going to be shown at the end of the video here, but like I said, it is fairly standard, so it was nice to play Centur-ion again. This event was a very nice excuse to get back into it. I have not played this deck in quite a while, actually, now that I think about it. Really, this is one of very many decks, actually, where, you know, I like it. I do enjoy playing Centur-ion. Of course, you all know how much I love synchro summoning, but I really just don't have as much time as I'd like to come to decks like this, come back to decks like this, you know, in trying to cover all the stuff that I want to for the channel, all the meta updates and everything. But anyway, yeah, Synchro Cup. So what do I think about this event? I don't know. One thing I will say off the bat, I'm pretty disappointed in as far as the Synchro Cup goes, is that unless they announce them when Stage 2 starts, I don't think there's any real incentive to actually grind to the top of the Synchro Cup ladder in Day 2, right? For the Xyz Duelist Cup Style event, there was that icon frame that was like the overlay material swirling, and I was really hoping for something like that. I'm just looking here to see. Yeah, as far as I can tell, excuse me, there really have not been any announcements for that same kind of style of reward here for the Synchro Cup. If they made a cool new icon frame for it, like, you know, the tuner rings going around it or something, I would have been all on board for grinding that out. Okay, I actually have to stop here and talk about this game for a second, because I went to battle here, like, surely they won't have Mirror Force, and then they actually just did, and I'm like, okay, well, at least I can bring back Primera Primus, and surely they won't have a second Mirror Force, but they did! 2 Mirror Forces here. Yeah, I have never, I don't know about never, but very rarely have I actually tried to swing in for lethal and been like, oh, okay, they have to have exactly Mirror Force to stop me, and then they have exactly Mirror Force. They have 2 Mirror Forces even, but anyway, wild first game here. But yeah, no, I just wish there was like some kind of incentive to actually play in Stage 2. From what I could tell, you get rewarded with like a title, and if that's really it, I'm like, I mean, you all know me. Like I said, I love synchro summoning. It is my favorite extra deck mechanic, but I personally really can't justify spending the time to try to grind it out for just a title reward. I mean, it is nice that at least the titles, you know, show up before you start a game, so there is a little bit more, I guess, use for them, but I don't know. It's just really not that much of an incentive. I don't know. A lot of people don't like these kind of Duelist Cup style events when it's a, you know, a festival like Synchro or Xyz or whatever. And I kind of have to agree, in all honesty. I really prefer when you can just do your, 11 or 22 wins, depending on if it's one of the half or full festivals. I like just being able to do those wins and being able to be done with it. It's going to take you about the same number of wins in order to get all the gems for the Duelist Cup anyway. The thing is, though, you could potentially miss out on them by being, you know, a lower rank, or you know, if you're a lower rank in general, just not being able to climb up to the highest rank to get those gem rewards. So unlike a regular festival, where as long as you play a certain amount of games, you know, you will get there eventually. So I definitely understand that little bit of frustration there, and I don't 100% disagree, although for me it's less of a gatekeeping issue of not being able to get to the higher ranks, more of a time issue. Although I guess, I don't know, it's not too much more time for me than it would be for a regular festival, but I know that's not the case for everybody, so I totally understand that perspective. For me, I'm also not as big of a fan of Duelist Cup style events like this. if it's not just a regular Duelist Cup, because it just feels like a... I don't know. It just feels like we're doing the Synchro Festival again. There's just less restrictions, right? Because I've noticed this, that for Duelist Cup style events, it seems like Konami really wants them to be competitive. That's why Maxi is legal here, whereas it's banned in most festivals. But, you know, I prefer the more laid-back nature of a festival. When you try to make it competitive, I don't know, it seems a bit odd to me. It feels like Konami wants the players to really care about, you know, the Synchro Festival here and really try to optimize builds for it, but at the same time, there's just no incentive to do it, right? Because there's really no, it's not like, again, it's not like the person who gets first place here is going to get an invite to Worlds. I don't think, or that is actually the case, but I don't think that's the case. And even then, it's not like they're even getting a special icon frame like in the Xyz festival for hitting top 1,000 or 10,000, whichever it was. I think it was top 1,000. But so yeah, in that regard, I guess, I don't know. They want us to, I guess they just want us to be competitive for the sake of being competitive, which is not something I'm inherently opposed to. That's actually kind of the whole basis of my channel, right? I love focusing on the more competitive side of gameplay because I personally find that interesting, but at a certain point you do have to consider time, right? And it's not even just a time factor for me. It's not like if I had all the time in the world, I would sit here and grind the Synchro Festival in this league, because I just don't think it's that interesting of an alternate format. And that is an issue that I've constantly brought up when talking about festivals and events in Master Duel, is that they make these alternate formats, but they make the least interesting ones possible, which is like, alright, you can only do this summoning method, or these two summoning methods. Oh, you can only play this type, or this attribute, you know? I think NR Festival, which this is like the most ice-cold take ever, NR Festival was really like the most interesting alternate format we've had in Master Duel, because it didn't, you know, exclude cards based on these more objective factors. It's a little bit more of a power level thing, right? Because Konami, of course, will tend to make the more powerful cards you are. And it was a very, like, natural way of doing that. You know, there are a lot of fan-run, like, alt formats where people just kind of, like, ban meta archetypes, and I've never really been a fan of that. I feel like and that's totally just a personal thing. I don't think it's, like, inherently awful or anything, but, you know, for me personally, I just find that inherently uninteresting, because it feels a little bit contrived, whereas NR format feels more organic, right? Especially the first NR format, when the game was, in general, less focused on making every competitive card UR and more evenly distributing URs across each archetype among boss monsters and key cards and such. So yeah, I think there are other interesting things you could still do. Limit 1, even though people weren't as big of a fan of it, the last one, because of Snake Eye still being really good. I think with the proper restrictions, Limit 1 could still be very, very interesting. Excuse me, sorry about that. Yeah, I don't know. I could sit here and pitch, you know, alternate format ideas all day, but really what I'm getting at here is that just being locked into synchro summonings, and coming from somebody who loves synchro summoning, just being locked into synchros or any given, you know, summoning method is just not enough as far as, like, piquing my interest in really exploring a given format. Now, as far as the Synchro Festival itself goes, like I said, I really think Centur-ion and Tenpai are the best things that you can be doing here, because they are the least affected by the restriction of only being locked into synchros, right? Again, there's not really any huge ban list changes. I think they did actually ban something. I don't remember what it was now, but anyway. Yeah, there's not really any huge ban list changes, so you're mostly locked into, you know, only being able to play synchros, and that's really going to affect what you can do. Centur-ion, as mentioned, it only synchro summons on its average, you know, games anyway. Same with Tenpai. Doesn't really tend to go into... Well, I guess Tenpai does a little bit more often go into stuff like Spheres and Typhon, but ideally Tenpai is just going to be synchro summoning in its perfect world. So Other options, you could play Crystron, of course, but you are missing out on Infinity. Even missing out on like Clockwork Knight actually does matter because it means that Smigor is no longer a one-card combo line. So, because you can't just link it off and get it directly into the graveyard, you have to have another card that puts it into the graveyard, which isn't usually that big of a deal. There are a lot of Crystron cards that do that, but it will still somewhat matter. Let's see, what else is there? Sword Soul, you could always try Sword Soul, but I think if you're going to go for a strategy like that, you should just be playing Centurion. Centurion is a very similar playstyle to Sword Soul, and is capable of, in terms of it being, you know, the way that it combos, and really it's just more efficient. It's more efficient and more powerful. The end board is better than Sword Soul's end board, and, you know, it doesn't require as many resources as Sword Soul does. You know, like Moye having to reveal a card as opposed to Primera being able to just be normal summoned and do the effect. You could also try some of the newer released archetypes. Dirac Dinos, not awful. Being able to Dirac Meteor in a format like this is still actually pretty strong. Well, it's strong in general, but you know, in a format where Centurion and Tempire are the best things that you can be doing, that definitely does get a lot more enticing. And what was the other dual terminal? Oh, Fabled. Yeah, you could do Fabled. I think that would be fine, too. I think Dirac would be stronger, just because Dirac, I think, is a better deck than Fabled in general. But, of course, the thing you have to keep in mind with Dirac, if you're going to try something like that, is that you don't get the wide range of extra deck that, like, all the dinosaur stuff. Like, you can't go into any of the links or anything like that, but you can still do Ultimate Conductor Tyranno, which is completely fine. Alright, so this last game here is going to be against Crystron. And I think the other thing, too, about Centurion that I really like is that it has more starters than a lot of other decks, like Crystron. And it has more room for hand traps because it's a lot more efficient in terms of space. You don't need to be playing as many random one-offs as against something like Crystron. I feel like there's another deck that I'm trying to think of that I wanted to talk about that is, like, not awful in this event. Let me see if I can remember which one it was. Oh yeah, you could do Resonator. I'm just looking up some decks. Oh yeah, of course, White Forest. How could I forget White Forest? White Forest is not bad here, but the thing that you have to realize is that you're missing out on, one, the Azamina fusions, which not only matters for your Ilias Sylvia negate on your end board, but also your Murashilago for even getting your plays going. And also Fiendsmith. You're not going to be able to use Fiendsmith with Azamina White Forest either, which again, not only hurts your end board, but also means that you have fewer starters as well. So I think in general when it comes to festivals, you are looking for the deck that, you know, well, at least when it comes to like something like Synchro Festival, right? You're looking for the deck that is least affected by whatever condition is being applied to the event. And again, this is like the main crux of why I'm not a big fan of these kind of Duelist Cups or a lot of Master Duel events in general, is that a lot of the time it does come down to just picking whichever deck can play the most normally under whatever conditions have been set. Whereas opposed to a format like NR really does make you think, like it really makes you just rethink how you're going to build decks and what the format is like as far as like what are good staples to play, you know, what you can expect to see your opponent playing, so on and so forth. And I guess to be honest, it's also a little bit of a reason why I kind of am not a big fan of just like, you know, events that ban certain meta archetypes or staple cards or anything, is because again, it's kind of comes down to like, okay, what is the deck that is you know, strongest in general and least affected by these conditions? All right, let's plug that in. Those are the kind of alt formats that I don't find the most interesting. I think that's what it comes down to for me personally. So. But let me know what you think in the comments too. You know, always eager to see what people say about festivals, because I think this is something that a lot of us can kind of agree tends to be a missed opportunity for Konami more often than not. Again, we think back to NR, we think back to Limit 1, or at least the first round. To be fair, Limit 1, I think that's more of a product of power creep, Because again, the first Limit 1 festival, there were so many different things that people were playing, but in the last one, the more recent one, everyone was pretty much just on Snake Eye, which, like, yeah, it's easy to see between not just all the different Snake Eye cards being able to pull stuff out of the deck, but also 1-for-1 in Bonfire and so on and so forth. But I think if you had more of a curated ban list with stuff like that in mind with Limit 1, then it could potentially be interesting again. Alright, so where are we at here? I know I'm probably going to get some comments about how sloppy my gameplay has been. I know in this game in particular, I kind of fumbled like going for an OTK in favor of making a really early Baron, trying to play around the last card in my opponent's hand, but I don't know. It's a festival. I usually don't devote as much attention. I'm watching a YouTube video on the side as I play these games, but anyway, here's the deck list. Like I said, this is like pretty standard for what a Centurion list for a ladder would look like. I think the only things that would change in the main deck for a ladder would be to drop maybe like the second Nib and a Veiler for some Droll and Lockbirds to handle Ryzeal. Extra deck, I would take out, let's see, I'd take out Chi-Xiao, or, yeah, Chi-Xiao. I'd take out Chi-Xiao, Sifir, and Packbit, I think, and then I would put in Heretic Seal of Heavenly Spheres, SP Little Knight, and Typhone. But yeah, wanted to thank you all for checking this video out as always, and again, let me know what you think of not just this festival, but recent Master Duel events in general in the comments below. Always eager to hear from you, as well as feedback on the Centurion build. Like I said, Centurion is a deck that I really have not played in quite a while, so I'm definitely a little bit rusty. I built this list kind of from scratch, just what I remembered and how the combo lines go and what it wants all, to play in the extra deck. So if there's anything huge that I missed, like I said, don't be afraid to let me know in the comments below. But yeah, I think that's just about gonna do it here. Wanted to, of course, as always ever, thank you for watching all the way to the very end of the video. You really have no idea how huge that is for not just me, but any smaller YouTube channel. But yeah, let's go ahead and just wrap things up here by signing off and heading over to our outro. Hey everybody, Hexlex here. Thank you so very much for watching all the way to the very end of the video, which by the way is one of the best ways to support the channel. Speaking of supporting the channel, take a look at the names on screen. These are folks who have been so generous as to either join as a YouTube member or subscribe over on patreon.com/Hexlex to support. There's also perks for doing so. If you would like to see YouTube videos early, as well as some exclusive videos that get uploaded to YouTube, but for one reason or another I decide not to publish, definitely go ahead and hit that join button to see content early, as well as some exclusive content. If you're looking for more exclusive content, over on patreon.com, I upload exclusive videos that are not posted on YouTube just about every single day. Whether you choose to subscribe over on Patreon, join as a YouTube member, or simply continue to watch, your support is greatly appreciated. Thank you so very much. But for now, this is Hexlex. I am signing out, and I hope that you have a fantastic day.